you some rhinestone button pocket mirrors that I made. And you'll see I have 3 different ones, and I'll explain to you. One, you can obviously see what the difference is. But so these are the rhinestones that I purchased, and they are from the baby's booty. And I purchased these during the buy-in, and they are wholesale pricing. And it doesn't cost anything to participate in the buy-in. She runs the buy-in 11 months out of the year, except for December. And it's always at the end of the month, and it runs for about a week. So again, these are wholesale. It's wholesale pricing, and it could take up to 30 days to receive your rhinestones because she's buying them out of the country. She also has a buy now, and the buy now are smaller quantity stones, but they are at retail price. So if you're not sure if you're going to like doing rhinestones, but you want to try it, I would recommend going to the buy now store to get them. They are in smaller quantities. They are 20 gross, and this container right here has 250 gross, so they are 20 gross. And guys, it's worth it. I mean, the stones are beautiful. They shine like nobody's business, I'm telling you. And her customer service is top notch. When you get stuff from her, and I know things happen in the mail, but I'm telling you, the way her husband packaged that stuff up, man, it's like trying to open Fort Knox to get to them stones, because they do just such an exceptional job. And anytime, if there's any issues, you just contact them and they are right on it. So that's about the stones. And if you're familiar with making paper buttons, this process is really no different than that. Yeah, it's a couple more steps, but as far as putting a button together, that's all done still the same way, except you're not using paper, you're using fabric. And in my case, I use some cotton. And you don't want any fabric that's too thick because it could jam in your machine. So I just took my punches, because I have punches that I purchased separately when I purchased the machine. So this is the size that you would need for paper or fabric. So since I can't put the fabric in my paper cutter, I just traced this design or this template onto the cotton and cut it out by hand. Now, if you got a cutting machine, you want to cut them out, you can do that, especially if you're going to be making a whole lot. And then I have a smaller circle cutter, and I use that to cut this out. And this is heat and bond. Because I'm testing and I knew I was going to be filling that up with rhinestones, to make the inner part of it a little thicker, I just added the heat and bond. Again, you probably don't even need it. You probably could even use lightweight fusible interfacing. But the only thing you want to make sure to stay away from the edge, the finished size of your button. So let's say if this was a US metric machine and it was your finished size was 3 inches, I would come like maybe back to like 2 1/4. I would not 2 1/4, 2 3/4. I would make that inner piece. Again, you just want to stay. You don't want to have your inner piece the same size as your finished button, because you don't want to run the risk of getting that piece inside the edges of your button machine in here. Because once you apply any type of like heat and bond or lightweight interfacing, it's going to make it thicker, because this has to wrap around the button. So just stay away from those edges. So here I have a piece that's cut out of my cotton. We're going to pretend that the heat and bond's in there. So then you want to take your shell, and this button maker has an A plate or mold, and it has a B mold. So the A mold, you put the shell in the A mold, and you put your fabric there. Or if you had paper, you would put your paper in Mylar. But we don't need a Mylar for this. So then you would turn this around, pull down your lever, and then your top of your button would go up into this housing right here, and then side B would be close to you. So this is side B, and B has a shim in it. Then you would take this piece here, which is called a collet, and it's smooth on one side and it's sharp on the other side. You want to take that sharp side, face it up. You want to take your mirror, which is the mirror right here, and you want to face that down, and then you want to take your cardboard shim, and I've seen metal shims, and if you have metal ones, then you bend your metal a little bit, and what that does, that stops the mirror from wiggling around inside your button. So then what you would do is bring this here, and remember that top button is up inside here. You would press it down, and then you have a button. You have a fabric covered button. And I made, in Silhouette Studio, I made these, I designed this in Silhouette Studio, these various sizes of the templates, and with the various sizes of spacing. So that's what's the difference between them. Of course, you can see this one, it has more spacing. This is the spacing that I typically like for my designs, and this is the Silhouette default spacing. So the Silhouette default spacing is 0.039. I typically use 0.020, but for this one, it was better for me to use 0.021 because it didn't leave any weird type of spacing in the design. And then this one, I just wanted to give a more scattered look, so I use 0.200. And like I said, I designed this in Silhouette Studio. I saved it as an SVG file, and I cut it out using the Caesar Juliet. And after I did that, I applied the rhinestones to the templates. I have rhinestone transfer tape that I picked the stones up with. Using this Wingway heat press, I had a piece of paper down here. And what I did first, well, I pressed, before making the buttons and all, I had to take this inner piece and press that to the fabric. And I had just had a piece of paper down there in case when I pressed it, I didn't want, like, if some of that adhesive came through, I didn't want it to mess up my padding here. So with that paper still down there, I just kind of placed this down and placed the button down like this. Then I took the transfer tape that had the rhinestones on it, center, kind of eyeballed that, and then I just taped it on both corners so it gets to hold it in place. And then I pressed it at 345 for 16 seconds. And I had to do that a couple of times because for the most part it pressed, but there were some on the edges that didn't press. So I just had to do that a couple of times. Now the recommended pressing time for the rhinestones is 350, 12 seconds. But because I wasn't sure, like with that mirror and everything, how that would hold up, so I just dropped the temperature down to 345 and I bumped up the time to 16 seconds, but I still had to press a couple of times. And that seemed to work. So if you decide to do this, the only thing I would caution you on is staying away from the edge, because the button does have a slight curve. And if you're too close to that edge, it's going to be hard to get those rhinestones to stick. Now, if you're still having difficulty getting it to stick with your heat press, I would recommend using a mini press, some type of hand press, to get them to stick. And now looking at this is okay, but I probably would have came back maybe a little bit. Yeah, just maybe a little bit more from the edge. So let me show you again. So this is the 0.200 spacing. This is the 0.021 spacing. And this is the default Silhouette rhinestone spacing of 0.039. So guys, I think I've covered everything. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave me a comment. Otherwise, thanks a lot for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing. Bye.